Welcome to Bed Crime Stories Podcast. I'm your host, T. To my bed crimers, hi, how are you? I hope you're doing well. To anyone new here, a warm welcome. Thank you for checking out the channel. Do me a favor, if after watching the video you find you enjoyed it or you learned something, smash that like button and please consider subscribing. And if you want to support the work I do, please consider a membership. I keep the price really low, $1.99 a month. Hey, that's much less than even one drink from Starbucks. Now, without further ado, let's dig in. By now, you may or may not know that a trial date has been set for Donna Adelson. She is Charlie Adelson's mother, in case you don't know. Charlie was sentenced to life in prison for his role in his former brother-in-law, Dan Markel's murder for hire death. Donna is charged as a co-conspirator in the 2014 crime. On Monday, Leon Circuit Judge Stephen Everett set a start date of September 30th for Donna's trial. That will be the day that jury selection begins. Opening arguments are expected to begin later that week. Judge Everett advised the attorneys for both sides that he would enter a second order that would address a cutoff for discovery before he joked, quote, "However, cases have a mind of their own," end quote. Discovery, in case you don't know, is the formal process of exchanging information between the state and the defense about the witnesses and evidence they plan to present at trial. Discovery allows both the prosecution and the defense to see what evidence may be presented at trial before the trial takes place. During Monday's court proceeding, where Donna Adelson appeared via Zoom wearing a medical mask, she was looking at herself on screen and straightening her hair. Girl wants to look her best. The assistant state attorney, Sarah Catherine Dugan, when asked if the state intended to give Donna a plea offer, replied, quote, "Not that I know of." She added that if anything changed on that front, she would let the court know. Both of Donna's defense attorneys, Daniel Rashbaum, who represented Charlie Adelson during his trial, and Alex Morris, who's a local to Tallahassee, were in court with their client, and they said they have no intention of making any offers, meaning plea deals, to the state. Now, I'm reading this as them saying, 1, Donna is insisting that she's innocent, and 2, Donna is unwilling to throw other family members under the bus in order to get herself some sort of deal, at least for now. I know many are speculating that either Donna or Charlie will cave at some point and spill the beans on other family members. Personally, I think there's zero chance that anyone will throw the patriarch Harvey under the bus if he was involved. Donna was more concerned about him than herself when she was at the airport and was arrested. And Charlie, if he loves anyone other than himself, loves his parents. He also appears to love his child Roman. Wendy is a different story, though. Wendy's behavior as described by Donna after Charlie's conviction, her not rushing over to her parents' condo to comfort them, her not asking how Charlie was doing, that could be enough to make either Charlie or Donna flip, or both of them. Resentment and their current addresses versus hers may set in. But Donna also claimed to have told Wendy, "Everyone looks to protect you." The judge on Monday told prosecutors, quote, "There's not going to be any prodding or pushing about plea offers, but ultimately when it comes down to it, if Miss Adelson is to make a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary decision about going to trial, that includes whether there is a plea offer to reject or accept," end quote. Donna, of course, has pleaded not guilty to the charges she's facing: first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation. Mama Adelson was silent for most of the hearing. The only time she chirped in was when she was asked if she could hear, and she politely said, "Thank you, Judge," at the end. This is a very different Donna Adelson from the one we saw in her initial hearing, where she made exaggerated facial expressions to convey her feelings and spoke when she should have been silent. Someone must have told her to be on her best behavior, speak only when spoken to, don't make faces, and finally say thank you. Donna's next hearing isn't until July 22nd, so she's going to be spending many months behind bars at the Leon County Detention Facility. I suspect she's kicking herself for not trying to get to Vietnam sooner. Instead of eating spring rolls, she's eating peanut butter. Donna, I believe, is eager to get out of jail, and I think she's banking on the state not being able to convince the jury that she's guilty. She may also suffer from magical thinking, like her son Charlie does. So what evidence does the state have against Donna, at least that we, the public, know of? I read Donna's arrest warrant, the one that led to her arrest at the airport, as she attempted to flee to Vietnam on a one-way ticket with her husband Harvey by her side. And I'm going to share some of what that warrant said. By the way, that one-way trip to Vietnam is part of the evidence as well, as it points to consciousness of guilt. Note that I'm not going to share everything in the arrest affidavit because it includes all the details of the crime that led investigators to the two hitmen, Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera. If you've been watching my videos on this case, then you already know all that stuff. I'm looking just at the details that specifically mention Donna Adelson and her alleged participation in the crime. The affidavit says that 74-year-old Donna Sue Adelson allegedly began plotting Dan Markel's murder beginning in 2013 and continuing through October 1st of 2016, along with her son Charlie Adelson and his then girlfriend Katie McBanoa. You may recall that Dan Markel lost his life on July 18th of 2014 when he was cornered in his car inside his garage by Garcia as the getaway driver, Rivera, waited in the Prius. The arrest warrant mentions Donna's daughter, Wendy Adelson, and things she said during her 4-hour-plus interview with the investigators. Specifically, it mentions Wendy, 1, making statements to the Tallahassee PD, suggesting that Danny's death could have been arranged by someone on her behalf without her knowledge. 2, indicating that her parents, Donna and Harvey, were very angry at Danny. 3, mentioning that her brother Charlie joked about hiring a hitman to do in Markel in the past. And 4, feeling that her former in-laws would suspect her of doing this to Danny since she was denied the ability to move to South Florida by the court. The affidavit further states that Wendy's parents, especially Donna, repeatedly tried to convince her to coerce her ex-husband into allowing the relocation to South Florida. Donna is the person who suggested offering Markel $1 million to allow Wendy to relocate 7+ hours away to the Miami area. Donna said she and Harvey would kick in 1/3 of the $1 million. Wendy could also throw in 1/3. Charlie would top it off with another 1/3. Donna also suggested that Wendy threatened to convert Markel's children to Catholicism, knowing Markel was very observant in his Jewish faith and that the religious practices of the children were of the utmost importance to him. All of this points to Donna Adelson's motive for wanting to have Dan Markel permanently gone, allegedly. We must remember that she hasn't been convicted yet, but there appears to be motive, means, and opportunity. Wendy also told the investigator that her parents being angry with Markel was a, quote, very effed up situation. So Wendy was raising a big red flag over her parents and her brother Charlie right from the start. The legal experts are saying, by the way, that Wendy will have to testify at her mother's trial. I cannot wait to see that. Then we have Donna and Harvey's unwillingness to speak to the Tallahassee PD, or TPD. This isn't smoking gun type of evidence, but it is circumstantial, and circumstantial evidence is just as important. You'd think that the Adelsons would have wanted to assist the police in any way they could. Dan Markel. Wendy said she was afraid whoever did this would come for her and her kids. To then avoid speaking to the police is a giant red flag. So Wendy's parents made contact with the lead Tallahassee Police Department investigator at Dan Markel's memorial service on Sunday morning, July 20th, 2014, just 2 days after he died. the investigator approached Donna and Harvey. They both agreed to contact the TPD to arrange an interview before returning to South Florida. After all, it's 7 hours away. But when the TPD investigator contacted Wendy on her cell phone the next day, Wendy claimed to have a bad connection. I picture this like a scene in a movie. Wendy saying something like, "We've got a bad connection. I can't hear you. Sorry, gotta go. See you later." Like much later, like never. The investigator's call to Wendy was then terminated. That's police code for she hung up. And then, less than 5 minutes later, Wendy's attorney called the investigator and informed him that Wendy had left town with her children and parents en route to South Florida. He said he could not provide a date for Wendy's return to Tallahassee, and he requested that he be contacted for any further inquiries. Thus, Donna and Harvey left Tallahassee with Wendy and the 2 grandkids the day after the service without speaking to the investigators, and Wendy got her attorney involved. Once someone asks for a lawyer, the police interviews generally are over. The arrest affidavit then says, quote, "Since leaving, no one in the Adelson family contacted TPD or inquired about the status of the investigation, and Charlie Adelson did not attend Dan Markel's memorial service." A lot of the evidence against Donna lies in cellular records, meaning phone calls and pings off cell towers. The affidavit also cites a call that Charlie made to Donna on the morning of July 18th, 2014, the day of the crime. Charlie contacted his mom at 1:01 a.m. Donna did not pick up. She was likely sleeping. What was so important that Charlie needed to speak to his mom when he seems to advise her often to take a Xanax? Donna picks up her phone later that day at 8:09 a.m., and she contacts Wendy. I believe this call was connected to the TV repairman's visit to Wendy's home. Roughly an hour later, at 9:02 a.m., Dan Markel contacts Wendy. The call lasts for just 1 minute. 10 minutes later, Charlie contacts Wendy. The call lasts less than a minute. At 9:19 a.m., Wendy calls Charlie back, and they talk for more than 18 minutes. Oh, to be a fly on that call. At 9:38, Charlie contacts Donna. It's a 30-second call. At 9:58, Charlie calls Katie McManawa, and they speak for more than 6 minutes. At 10:07 a.m., Katie calls Charlie back for a call that lasts over 1 minute. A minute later, Katie calls Charlie again, this time only for 9 seconds. Then, at 10:09 a.m., Charlie calls Katie, and they speak for another 6 minutes. Now, this is all about 50 minutes before Dan Markel will find himself face-to-face with Garcia in his garage. It seems like a lot of phone activity by 2 people we know were involved in the crime, Charlie and Katie McManawa. Donna's also involved in these calls simply by virtue of Charlie calling her, and we know that the police believe Donna's involved in the crime. Thus, I have to believe Wendy being sprinkled in the mix of these phone calls during this very active period that morning could point to her being aware of the plot. Allegedly. Wendy Adelson has never been charged in connection to her ex-husband's death, of course, so this is pure speculation. At some point between 10:52 a.m. and 10:55 a.m., Dan Markel's neighbor hears 2 shots and then sees the light-colored Prius tearing out of Markel's driveway. Just 4 minutes after the 911 call made by that same neighbor, Donna calls Charlie. It sounds like this call was not picked up. Was this call related to the crime? Did Donna find out that the paid-for crime had indeed been accomplished? Charlie calls Donna at 11:22 a.m., so that's about 15 minutes later. They speak for 7 minutes, just enough time to say maybe, "Yes, it's done. 2 times in the head. Now we need to get the $100,000 together so that Katie can give it to the guys. And maybe, Mom, you should wash the money so that our fingerprints aren't on it." Obviously, this is me guessing what they might have said during the exchange. Charlie then hangs up and calls Katie at 11:30 a.m. Sounds like she didn't answer at first. Charlie, clearly eager to speak to her, called her once again 1 minute later at 11:31 a.m. This time, Katie answers, and they talk for about 5 minutes. Could these calls be about getting the money to Sigfredo Garcia? We know Garcia and Rivera would have wanted that cash as soon as possible, and probably Katie too. We also know that the first call initiated by Garcia after the crime was at 12:30 p.m. when he called Katie to say, "It's done," and Katie somehow already knew that the crime was done. The affidavit then mentions Donna again when it says, quote, "McBanoa stated while at Charles Adelson's residence, where she would remain until the following morning, McBanoa stated while at Charles Adelson's residence, Charles Adelson was armed and acting frantic. Charles told her his mother and father had just left his residence and left money that his mom had washed." At Adelson's trial, McBanoa testified that the money she received was damp and moldy, consistent with being physically washed, and was stapled into $1,000 stacks, end quote. So we have Katie placing Donna and Harvey at Charlie's house on the night of the crime, and we know Katie took the money over to Garcia and Rivera the next morning. The affidavit goes on to say, quote, "Communication records in Charles Adelson's iCloud show Donna Adelson telling Charles Adelson that she was, quote, outside your house, end quote, at approximately 8:59 p.m. on July 18th, 2014. This is evidence supported what Katie said, that Harvey and Donna had been over to Charlie's house on the night of the crime to drop off the money. Now remember, Donna told Wendy when Wendy was in with the investigator getting interviewed for 4 hours plus that she and Harvey would drive to Tallahassee that night. And that's sort of what they did. But why take the time to head over to Charlie's house when you're supposed to be driving straight to Tallahassee to support your daughter in this horrific situation? According to Donna's affidavit, cellular records for both Donna and Harvey show an arrival time of 1:25 a.m. in Orlando, Florida, leaving in approximate hour-and-a-half time block consistent with her, meaning Donna, being at Charlie's residence at 8:59 p.m. This indicates Donna and Harvey didn't stay at Charlie's house for very long, likely just enough time to hand over the money outside the house. After that, Donna and Harvey traveled to Orlando for the evening, and then went on to Tallahassee the next morning. That's curious, isn't it? They didn't drive the entire 7+ hours to Tallahassee that night. If your daughter was so terrified that whoever had done this to her ex, Dan Markel, would come for her or her sons next, wouldn't you think the parents would have driven straight to Tallahassee that night? I mean, I know they were middle-aged to elderly, but still, this isn't just a casual road trip to spend time with your daughter. Donna and Harvey were summoned by Wendy, whose ex had just been done in by hitmen. Would you even be able to sleep that night? Can you imagine Donna calling Wendy to say, "Yes, we're really tired, so we're going to stay in Orlando tonight, but you should be okay, right? I mean, we'll see you tomorrow morning." The next evidence cited in Donna's affidavit are the paychecks from the Adelson Institute for Aesthetics and Implant Dentistry, which were handwritten and signed by Donna. Those checks were sent to Katie McBanoa for absolutely zero work done. The paychecks started in September of 2014, so a little more than a month after Dan Markel died, and they were for $407.58 each. Katie received these every 2 weeks, and the checks continued at least through April of 2016. And we know why they stopped in April of 2016, and that's because of the bump that the FBI orchestrated. The FBI had an undercover agent approach Donna Adelson on the street outside her and Harvey's luxurious condo on April 19th. The bump was designed to, and did, generate a lot of chatter between Charlie, Donna, and Harvey, as well as Katie McBanoa about the crime up north. Sigfredo Garcia was arrested a month later in May, and Katie McBanoa was arrested on April 1st of that same year. So yes, Donna, that was a good time to stop writing checks to the person who served as the conduit between you and Charlie and Garcia and Rivera. The arrest affidavit later says, quote, a review of their financial records indicated that Charles Adelson and Donna Adelson had the financial means to finance this murder and provide ongoing compensation to McBanawa, end quote. The means. Remember, law enforcement uses those three indicators of suspicion to describe potential suspects: motive, means, and opportunity. The motive, as we know, for Donna was for Wendy to be able to relocate to South Florida with her kids. The means to accomplish the crime in this case is the money, and the opportunity would be that moment in Dan Markel's schedule on Friday, July 18th of 2014, when he was alone inside his black Honda Accord in his garage. Someone made sure there was an opportunity to corner Markel when he was alone and unable to defend himself, and there were no witnesses nearby to see the perpetrators' faces. Of course, no one thought Dan's neighbor would have heard the sounds and then looked out his window just at the right moment to see a light-colored car that he was even able to identify as being a Prius. The arrest affidavit then talks about the bump. It cites certain phone calls, including the one Donna made to Charlie right after the undercover agent approached her, asking for $5,000 for his brother, who's incarcerated, Luis Rivera. Donna, when asked by Charlie, who does this involve, whispers, probably both of us. And when stupid Charlie, who thinks he's smarter than he is, asks her to repeat that, she states, probably the two of us, and you probably have a general idea what I'm talking about. That's Donna trying to be all pussy galore with Charlie. The affidavit lists other phone calls as well. There's one in which Donna and Charlie discuss meeting and whether or not Charlie needs to bring cash, as in maybe $5,000. There's another call where Charlie tells Donna not to talk about things in the apartment or any place. When Charlie asks what the letter asked for, Donna replies, this TV is probably about 5, end quote. So once again, she's indicating $5,000. And Charlie does meet with his mom the next day. He and Donna walk to a remote table outside the Icon condo where Donna and Harvey live, and they sit practically cheek to cheek, whispering. Right after that, Charlie drives to see Katie McBanawa. That's when they have their recorded conversation in the Dolce Vita Cafe. This is when Charlie is recorded saying, quote, if they had any evidence, we would have already gone to the airport. Charlie also says this to Katie, quote, so my point is, how do you get people to talk? You throw in a smoke grenade, and then you get all the cockroaches to run out. Aha! There's smoke in the house, there's smoke in the house, and everyone's running and everyone's talking, and you throw a smoke grenade. What do you think? End quote. It's so funny that Charlie is describing exactly what he's doing so that he's one of the cockroaches, and so is Katie, and so is Donna. Here are the other sentences from Charlie's and Katie's chat that day. And this is Charlie speaking. What I'm saying, like, go talk to the person who's involved, not effing people who aren't involved. And I'm not involved. But they knew, if they knew. But if they knew your relationships with me, not my family, like I dated you, not my mom. They knew my dad's name. This person obviously doesn't even know that we dated, that's the direct connection, is who was her boyfriend. The 71-year-old guy, Dr. Adelson, or the 37-year-old Dr. Adelson. Yeah, 37, let's go talk to him. Dr. Adelson, that's who they'd talk to, not waste your time with mom. They needed to talk to someone who knew what the F went down. And so, wouldn't it make sense that your connection to my family is me? Your connection to my family is not my mom. Like, yeah, you work for the office now because the checks are from there. And that's just because you come in and you work on the weekends, which I trust that you're doing because I'm never there when I see you. You tell me you do it and the place looks clean, so you get your checks. You clean up, whatever, but that's neither here nor there. This person knows information, and even if they are cops, that information said your name. And they also know that. They're claiming that somebody who had something to do with it is incarcerated. I don't know anybody in jail. This is what I want you to do. I want you to call up this person and say that I got a call from some friends of mine who say that you reached out to them and that you mentioned my name. And remember, protect your name. So what you're going to say is, I got a call from some friends of mine who said that you had reached out and that you had mentioned my name. These people want to go to the police because they had nothing to do with what you're talking about, okay? And frankly, I don't know what you're talking about, but the name sounds familiar of who's incarcerated. I'm going to give you something as charity to help the less fortunate, but do not contact these people again or they're going to go to the police. And let them know you had to do everything in the world to prevent these people from going to the police because they don't know anything and I don't know anything, and that the name sounds a little familiar, and then I'm going to help you with some charity, and don't ever contact me, my friends, or my family again, or we'll go to the police. I mean, Katie, I'll go to the moon and back for you. That's without even saying, I don't need to say that. But that's what, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Help me out. Like, I don't even have to. I don't have to sit here and tell you what I would do. I could show you what I could do. You know what I'm saying. Like, I know you know how I am. Like, I look for things to do. You don't ask me for shit. I'm the one that's like, hey, Noah's birthday's coming up. I got you. I'm the one who's like, anything I can, you don't ask. I'm the one who's like, hey, I'll sell you the Lexus for a very good price. I know you're having car problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the one who, I don't have to tell you. I show you. There's a difference. I know. My head was, when I was leaving the house, literally had the bag out and I had it with my car keys. I know, well, if you guys can swing by my house later. So what are we doing? I want you to take it back. Write the number down and I'm going to give you cash. And I want you to talk to 712, 6570. Now, right after this meeting with Katie, Charlie calls Donna back to report about it. He told Donna that he's handling everything. Donna then calls Charlie, sounding concerned. She's really not buying that Charlie has everything under control. There's yet another phone call on April 26th. Charlie calls Donna and they discuss a conversation they had the previous evening at a restaurant called Monty's near the marina where Donna and Harvey live. Now, on this call, Donna said she felt better after the conversation, and she asked Charlie to let her know once things are taken care of. Meaning once the guy asking for the $5,000 is taken care of. Then on May 4th at 2:09 a.m., the undercover FBI agent sends Donna a text message. Later in the day, Charlie asks his mom if she's okay. She tells him she will need to speak to him about it on Sunday. Charlie then calls Katie to tell her there's a new problem, and he may need to meet with her later that day to talk about it. Then on May 5th, Charlie arrives at his parents' condo, and they all go to a private area near the pool to discuss the text message, maybe. This time, Harvey is present, along with Donna and Charlie. They huddle in a corner for privacy, and nearby undercover agents are unable to hear what the three are saying. The bottom line is, there's a whole lot of back and forth between Charlie and Donna, conversations in which they try to be vague, but they end up making it clear that they need to meet somewhere in person so as not to be overheard by the police. And there's discussion of paying the $5,000 as requested by that undercover FBI agent who pays such sums of money instead of going to the police about it. I'll tell you who. Guilty people. And then, of course, Donna calls the undercover FBI agent on May 6th and claims she wasn't involved in Dan Markel's death. She then tells this person that he should try and get the $100,000 reward if he really knows something about the crime. I'll give it to Donna. She is one ballsy lady. Everyone else is arguing about who's going to dial the scary number on the piece of paper. Donna's like, I'm just going to take care of this myself. Of course, Charlie also dials that number. What's also interesting is that both Charlie and Donna tell this person that they're going to call him back, even though they both deny knowing anything about some mystery person who took care of the problem up north, which obviously they know is Dan Markel. And both Donna and Charlie never call the mystery person back. No big surprise there. The affidavit also mentions comments made by Charlie's other ex-girlfriend, June Umchinda, who told the cops she observed Donna Adelson being very stressed out during the period after the bump. And when Katie McBanawa was arrested, June said that Donna made a statement to her that she felt that Dan Markel was haunting her from the grave. Yes, Donna, I think he is, and rightly so. I kind of hope he visits you and Charlie and anyone else involved every single night in your dreams for the rest of your life. The affidavit also mentions the jail calls from Charlie after his conviction to his parents, mostly to Donna, where she talks about getting things in order, creating trusts, and making sure her grandchildren are taken care of. She also talked about wanting to unalive herself, and she also mentions fleeing to a non-extradition country like Vietnam. And then the affidavit mentions that Donna and Harvey actually do book one-way flights to Vietnam, and they go to the airport. So the prosecution is going to have to build a case against Donna, starting from her emails to Wendy when she insists that relocation is a non-negotiable and comes up with all those outrageous ideas for getting Dan Markel to agree to Wendy's relocation with the children. There are all the phone calls at key times on the day of the crime as well as after the bump and after Charlie's conviction. There's Donna's signature on all of Katie McBanawa's checks for a job never performed. There's the damp stapled money that per Katie, Donna and Harvey dropped off at Charlie's house on the night of the crime. And there are the cellular records showing that indeed Donna and Harvey were at Charlie's residence that night. They only stayed for a short while and then they drove to Orlando. There's Donna's attempt to flee to Vietnam, which points to her consciousness of guilt. It does seem like all of this is blood on Donna's hands that she can't wipe off. But ultimately, it's going to come down to how the jury interprets what they hear and what they see in court during the trial. Is this case a slam dunk? Is there reasonable doubt? How well will the prosecution present the evidence? How credible will their experts come across to the jurors? How well will the defense lawyers refute the evidence? It seems like Donna's going to have to piggyback off Charlie's weak defense that he was being extorted by McBanawa, Garcia, and Rivera. That fell totally flat for Charlie, so how's Donna going to spin that? Will her lawyer, Dan Rashbaum, be called as a witness because he sounds like the person who is giving her the advice to flee? And if Rashbaum is a witness, then he can't be her lawyer. And then does Donna use that, if she's convicted, to wage an appeal? This case is unbelievable, and I can't wait to learn more. Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories.
Ms. Adelson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Judge.
All right. Good afternoon. Let's go ahead and address next State versus Donna Adelson, 2023, CF 3226.
Judge Alex Morris and Dan Rashbaum on behalf of Mr. Adelson. Ready to ask the court for a trial date.
All right, Ms. Dugan, you can make your appearance.
This is Sarah Catherine Dugan for the state. We've discussed September trial date with the defense, and I think we all agree to those dates. And have kind of looked at the calendar for that time, looked at the court's trial weeks and a possible fifth week at the end of the week. And I think we're all flexible as to what will work for the court that month. We can make work for us.
Right, defense.
She got it right. Whichever week. Looking at your calendar, that last week of September, the fifth week, and then spilling over into a natural trial week seemed appealing, but I don't know what your schedule allows for.
Right. Well, this is somewhat difficult to say. Judge Allman still is in the process of determining who is going to be in what division. This case will stay with me, but if I'm otherwise in a civil division or doing something else, it probably becomes a little bit easier and more flexible to schedule the trial. But for now, let's operate as if I will still be in Division C. We'll put it on September. September 26th is the docket sounding you'd be asking for. That's the one before the fifth week.
Which is fine, Judge. Yes.
Ms. Dugan?
That'll be fine. We'd be fine with either the September 12th docket sounding or the 26th.
Actually, let's go ahead and put it on the 9/12 docket sounding. The idea being that the start of jury selection would be during that fifth week. But that should give us some time if there's anything that we need to work out ahead of time to deal with before any trial starts. I am going to end up, now that we have a date picked for 9/12 being the docket sounding and the week of trial starting September 30th, probably going to end up entering a separate order that deals with a motion and discovery cutoff. So that way we're not dealing with these issues up to the wire. However, cases have a mind of their own. The cutoff date will be in place. However, if we need to address it any further from there, we will. One matter that I did want to make sure we had a clear record on, has any plea offer been extended to the defense?
No, sir.
Does the state intend to give a plea offer?
Not that I know of, but if something changes, we'll let them know.
Very well. Has your client wanted to convey any offers to the state?
None.
And again, everyone knows me well. There's not going to be any prodding or pushing about plea offers or state you making one. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, if Ms. Adelson is to make a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary decision about going to trial, that includes whether or not there is any plea offer to reject or accept. If the state is going to make a plea offer, please notify the defense promptly. From there, if the defendant intends to reject it, she will do so. Are there any other matters that we need to address for today?
That's it, Judge.
Not from the state.
Very well. Ms. Adelson, the next time we have a status date, you will be in the Zoom booth so you can see and hear what's going on, similar to today. Before we get to September, do you all wish to set a status in the summer?
Please.
Right, before July or after?
I'm going to ask for one in June, preferably, and then take another look at one in August or September.
Okay. Then we'll go ahead and have a status hearing during my business week of July 22nd. We'll go ahead and put it at 1:30 in the afternoon. At that point, the order as to discovery cutoff, motion cutoff, and other pretrial matters that will already be in place, everyone will have your guidelines to operate from. There's nothing else to address from here. Ms. Adelson, that is going to conclude your case management hearing. Your attorneys will be in touch with you. Have a good afternoon. For everyone on Zoom, that concludes the hearing. I'm going to be logging out.